Right then guys, how's it going and welcome back to another predictions video, and the Premier League is back this weekend. It's been a while, but I'm looking forward to it. But before we get on to that, let's take a quick look at my predictions from the international break. I got majority of the outcomes correct, but without any correct scores. Great to see England win both of their games. I was close to say that the Netherlands-Germany game was going to be 2-2 because Germany scored a last-minute winner to win 3-2. And then the France-Iceland score, I said that France were going to win, but they actually won 4-0, where I went 2-1. As always, loads of you guys got involved. I'm pretty sure the majority of everyone's predictions got the correct outcomes for most games, but because the scorelines were pretty crazy, there wasn't too many correct scores. So two people got one correct score. They were Ben and Geordie Atkinson. So well done to these two guys. I've subscribed to both of them and I've put their YouTube links down in the description, so make sure to go to check them out. And if you want to be shouted out in next week's prediction video, then make sure to get your comments down below of your predictions for all of the games. But as always, I've picked 4 games and we'll go through them now. To start things off, we're looking at a 3 o'clock kickoff, and it is Brighton versus Southampton. So Brighton currently sitting 15th in the league, Southampton sitting 16th in the league. Two teams who are really hoping not to go down this season. I mean, Brighton are currently 5 points clear of the relegation zone, so they are sitting in a good point gap there, and they also have a game in hand over Cardiff, who are currently sitting in 18th, and are probably, if anyone's going to get out of the relegation zone, it would be them. They actually have 2 games in hand over some of the teams around them because of the fact that they played in the FA Cup quarter-final before the international break, which they won. They beat Millwall, so their last game that they played, which feels like ages ago because of the international break, they did win it, and I'm sure they've been looking to build on that, coming back into the Premier League against Southampton this weekend. As for Southampton, as I mentioned, they are currently sitting 16th, and they are only 2 points ahead of the relegation zone, 2 points ahead of Cardiff. Southampton's recent form hasn't been great in the Premier League. The most recent game before the international break, they beat Spurs 2-1. So that was a massive win for them. As I say, very, very close to the relegation zone at the minute, and they're going to see this game against Brighton as another big chance for 3 points, as will Brighton. So as for the scoreline on this one, Brighton have got the home advantage. They'll be still on a high, presumably since their last game in the FA Cup. Southampton will be very aware this is a big chance to pick up 3 points if they don't want to get led into that relegation zone. So with all that in mind, I'm going to go Brighton 2-1. I'd like to see both teams really go for this one. Hopefully it's not going to be a bit of a standoff where they'll both take the point. You know, I want to see two teams going for it, and I reckon Brighton might come out on top. Next up, again on the Saturday, but the 5:30 kickoff, we have got 2 teams again who are sitting very close to each other in the league. West Ham versus Everton. So West Ham currently sitting in 9th place, Everton sitting in 11th place, and there's just 2 points between the two teams. And West Ham are also just 2 points off 7th place. You know, and if 7th place opens up as a Europa League spot this season, which very well may do, you know, West Ham are going to love to be in that spot for Europa League football next season. As for West Ham's recent form, it's been very much up and down. In the last 5 games, they've actually won a game, then lost a game, won a game, then lost a game, and then most recently won their last game before the international break, beating Huddersfield 4-3, and that was a bit of a cracker of a game. So like I say, up and down form. With that analogy, in theory, they would lose the next game if they continue with the win-loss that they're going for, but there's been a big break, and as I say, 2 points off 7th place. They're going to want to make the most of this game. In Everton's last 5 games, they've lost 2, they've drawn 1, and they've won 2, and again, most recently, they beat Chelsea before the international break. So we're talking about West Ham's form being up and down, Everton's form's been a bit up and down, but both teams have both won their most recent Premier League games with good wins. Now they're playing against each other this weekend. So West Ham have got the home advantage. Everton have a few points to make up on West Ham. And again, it's two teams very close to each other, both fighting to grab a few places up the league before the end of the season, potentially grabbing Europa League football. As for a prediction, I think this one's a tough one to call, and I love to say it could go either way. So I'm gonna bottle it a little bit. I'm gonna go a draw. So I'm gonna hopefully a few goals though. It's on telly, so I hope it's gonna be a good one. I'm gonna go 2-2. Yeah, plenty of goals. Moving on to the Sunday, the 4:30 kickoff, we have got a good one. It is Liverpool taking on Spurs. So Liverpool are currently sitting top of the league, 2 points ahead of Manchester City. Now they have played one more game than Man City. So technically, if Man City did win their game in hand, they would go 1 point ahead of Liverpool. But it's always easier said than done with those games in hand. So Liverpool will be happy to be 2 points clear at the moment, and they're going to want it to stay that way by hopefully beating Spurs this weekend. Liverpool's form in the Premier League has been very good. I'm pretty sure they haven't lost a game in the Premier League in about 10 or so games, and I'm pretty sure the last game they did lose in the Premier League was against Man City. Now they have had a lot of draws in that time, but it's still points on the board. It's going to be a tough one against Spurs, but they're certainly going to want to try and pick up 3 points. As for Spurs, they are currently sitting third in the Premier League. They are 1 point ahead of Arsenal, who are in fourth. They are 3 points ahead of Manchester United, who are in fifth. And they are 4 points ahead of Chelsea, who are in sixth. So, as I mentioned earlier, there's certainly a fight for the Champions League places going on at the minute. And Spurs are winning that race right now, sitting in third place. And they have been there for quite a while. You know, we're talking about Arsenal being in fourth, but the main thing is they are 3 points ahead of Man U down in fifth. But they're going to want to stay that way come the end of the season, which means winning some of the games that are going to be tough, like this one against Liverpool. Spurs' recent form, they have in order. They won 1, they lost 2, they drew 1, then they lost again in their most recent game, which, as I mentioned earlier, was against Southampton before the international break. So Spurs' form in the Premier League hasn't been fantastic. Having said that, they are through to the next round of the Champions League, as are Liverpool and all of the English clubs, which is fantastic. But as for Premier League itself, Spurs' form hasn't been great. And they are now playing away to the current first place Premier League leaders, Liverpool. So as for a prediction on this one, I think it could be very close. And as I mentioned earlier, Liverpool have drawn a lot of games recently. Spurs' form hasn't been amazing. So again, it could go either way. But I'm going to put a winner on this one. I'm going to go 3-1 to Liverpool. I want to see plenty of goals. That's the main thing. And Liverpool are at home. And I think they really, if they want to try and grab the Premier League trophy this season, it's games like these they really have to win and hope that Man City might slip up along the way as well. And they're not going to want to do that themselves. So, yeah. I'm going to go Liverpool for that one. And to finish things off on the Monday night at 8 o'clock, my team Newcastle are travelling to the Emirates to take on Arsenal. So, as I mentioned earlier, Arsenal are currently sitting in fourth place, and I'm sure that's where they hope to be come the end of the season. Having said that, to be fair, they are 1 point off Spurs, who are in third, so they could potentially even look at getting third this season. But most importantly, they are 2 points ahead of Man U, who are in fifth. So again, they're going to be wanting to win every game till the end of the season to try and grab that Champions League spot. And Arsenal's form in the Premier League has been really good recently. In the last 5 games, they have won 4 and drawn 1. Most recently, again, before the international break, where they beat Man U. So again, I remember when I was talking about that one, it was a massive game to win before the international break came around, and they did it. I'm going to want to continue that by beating Newcastle on Monday night. And Arsenal, again, they are also through to the next round of the Europa League, as are Chelsea. So big up to the English clubs for that. As for Newcastle, things are looking certainly brighter than they were around Christmas time or earlier in the year. 7 points ahead of Cardiff and the relegation zone. We have played one more game than Cardiff have. So, you know, if Cardiff did win their game in hand, it would reduce it to 4 points. But it's still a decent gap considering what has happened this season. And in Newcastle's most recent string of games, you know, we beat Huddersfield, we beat Burnley, we then lost away at West Ham, but then came back from a 2-0 down against Everton to win 3-2. What a game that was. And then most recently, before the international break, Richie scored a last-minute goal to get that draw against Bournemouth. So, considering at the start of the season we couldn't seem to win a home game and only won the away games, and now we seem to be on top form in the home games, and then the loss against West Ham 2-0 was pretty disappointing. In the away games is where things seem to have completely flipped from what was happening earlier in the season to what's happening now. But Richie scored a cracking goal against Bournemouth to get that draw. You know, and I'll take that point. But now travelling to the Emirates, like I just said, Arsenal have been on fantastic Premier League form recently. They'll be buzzing from getting through the Europa League. And then again, as I mentioned, Newcastle's away form seems to have taken a bit of a dip. I'd love to stand here and say I think Newcastle are going to go there and win 3-0. But, and you know, I'll be honest, as well, after such a long break from the international break, players have been away, players are coming back, some may be unrested, some are, some aren't. You know, anything can happen. It's a Premier League game, but staying as impartial as humanly possible, Arsenal have got a fantastic side, and as I mentioned, our away form hasn't been great, so 2-1 Arsenal. I'd love to see us go there and win, but well, hopefully the lads prove me wrong. And that's it, guys. I hope you have enjoyed the video. As always, those are my predictions up there, so make sure to get yours down in the comments below. I go through all of them before the first game kicks off, which is Saturday at 3 o'clock. So I know it's late now, but you've got tonight, all of tomorrow, and Saturday up until 5 to 3. And I'll take a note of everyone's predictions, and I'll shout out the winner in next week's prediction video. So as always, guys, hope you've enjoyed the week. Have a great weekend. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you later.